Recording.
All right. Season 1, episode 5.
I thought you were going to say the wrong episode number.
No. Surprise, we brought Brett back.
Contract negotiations finished. We're all happy. No hiccups.
And we've got Lau,
Hello.
our guest from last time. And today we'll be talking more about mcp-lite and some recent improvements that we've made. Kicking it off with maybe a recap on what it is, Lau, and what have you implemented this week?
Yes. So mcp-lite is a lightweight HTTP first, TypeScript first, zero dependencies package to build MCP servers. We launched it almost 2 weeks ago. That supported tools, resources, and prompts. The recent update has been adding support for sessions, streaming updates, and notifications. So by default, the initial version, basically, you could build stateless MCP servers. So you could make one tool call, and when that tool call was finished, the MCP server had the server client connection would effectively sever, and the next tool call would begin with no prior knowledge of the previous one. And right now you can make these prolonged sessions that have their own effective ID, and you can have longer running tool calls that issue progress updates. You can dynamically register tools and issue notifications for lists changed and all of that, things that like really lean into the bidirectional server client relationship in the model context protocol.
Nice. And before we hand it off to Brett for demos on other stuff, what's next? What's coming down?
Next up, I think on the spec compliance mode. So first, we added a whole bunch of issues on the GitHub repo that track the spec compliance of the mcp-lite package. I think there are three sort of major things that I can think of. One is elicitations, so supporting the server asking the user for information through the client. There's completions. That's a sort of another thing coming down.
What are completions?
Completions are sort of effectively what you get in when using Copilot or some earlier variations of Copilot that can be used in prompts and I think in tools as well. Need to double check that. But effectively, the client can request on what are the possible values for sort of, this fill in the middle.
A little bit for like if you have a prompt with a couple of arguments,
yeah,
then it can fill in like make a best guess, and that's up to the server to implement like what the best guess is. But
yeah. So I think those are the main ones that are up for the next week or so.
Got it. Over to Brett. So we gave you permissions to push to the repo.
Yeah, that was part of my contract negotiations.
So there's a few things there. One, validation libraries.
Yep.
Maybe jumping into that because the official SDK.
Yes, official SDK Zod
only knows one.
Only Zod and
one specific
version of Zod. Yeah, which can be problematic because we got Zod 3, we got Zod 4. What if you want to use Zod 4? Then you got to bring in Zod 3 too, just to support the MCP server.
And what if you don't even want to use Zod?
What if you don't want to use Zod is a very good question. I think we're going to answer it today on the pod. If you didn't use Zod, what would you use?
I am...
Don't say JSON schema.
No, I'm personally interested in archetype.
Good. That's great because I wrote an archetype example and I'm guessing you knew that. I could show the archetype example or we could live code the effect schema example.
Archetype.
We're going to do the archetype.
Let's do the archetype.
All right. Okay, I'll drop the terminal away for a second. This is just an echo server. a server that echoes the message that was passed to it, but it's for demonstration of if you want to validate the arguments to that tool, that echo tool, how would you do it with archetype? Tiny preamble on archetype. It's very, very fast, and it's it kind of blends the idea of a schema and a type definition. So a lot of times in validation libraries, you have this separation between your schemas and your types. Your schemas are runtime validation, and your types are, type time validation in TypeScript land.
Before you show the stuff, maybe did you like using it? What's sort of your what is your personal take on archetype?
My personal take is I've not used it yet, and I used it for this, and it was very nice. It's like 4 years ago, a colleague and myself, we couldn't really introduce new dependencies to a project. And we wrote, mainly him, but we wrote something similar internally. And I've always wondered, like, wow, I haven't seen anything like that. And now that I look at archetype, I'm like, oh, it's basically that. Cool thing is you kind of like I said, you aren't forced into the pattern where you define your schema and then derive your type from it. In your code base. So it feels good. And then the benchmarks are very sweet. So that's my little archetype plug. Nice to use.
Go archetype.
Thank you, archetype. And they are one of the 3 validation libraries that are supporting standard schemas. They're working with standard schema to make sure that it's a little easier to swap out validation libraries or support multiple validation libraries for other libraries developers like us. In this case.
Diving in.
I'll say my second favorite part of writing this is that I got to write the statement import type from archetype, which is very fun to say out loud.
Should be a sticker.
It really should be a sticker. Archetype, make that a sticker. We define our schema using this type helper right here. We say the schema is an object with a property of message that is a string. And when we go to define our tool, our echo tool, we pass that echo schema to the input schema right here. And when we parse the arguments in our tool handler, it already knows that, hey, the arguments will be an object with a message of type string. The other important piece here is the schema adapter. This is what makes it possible to use different schemas with mcp-lite. In this case, you just provide a function that calls toJSON schema on the type, which is, again, shows that they were working with, that they're working on portability really well. So it's very, very easy to integrate. And your archetype types have a method that converts to JSON schema, which is what we need. Beyond that, I can run the example. So this is in the mcp-lite repository. I'm going to cd to, I'm in the examples folder, and I'll go to validation archetype. We use bun to run everything in this. So I'll do bun dev. Does that work? Yeah. That will launch the MCP server at localhost 3000. I think I put a friendly, okay. So there's a friendly message here that says available at /MCP if you click on the root route. In this case, we can do the @model context protocol. That is, they need a shorter version for this.
Inspector.
Word to the wise. Last time I checked, did not work with PNPX. Definitely works with NPX. But in this case, I'm using bunx, which is going to execute the inspector, pop it up on my screen. And at this point, I can click connect. Oh, because I'm on the wrong port. 3000. I'll click connect, list tools, and I see my echo. And if I try to run the tool, oh wait, did it automatically pass an empty string? Maybe I'll do 1, 2, 3. It converts it to a string automatically in the UI. So it's hard to force a validation. I wanted to show a validation error happening.
You wanted to show archetype in action.
I wanted to show archetype in action, but the MCP inspector doesn't let me put an invalid input. It's automatically making it a string.
Guess we're going to need a new inspector.
We're going to need a new... Stay tuned. Next episode. Is there a way to force it to be empty? Yeah, there we go. Okay, it just took a couple of tries. All right, in this case, I sent nothing. I get a validation error right here, which shows that, and it says message must be a string. It looks like ring on my screen because the S is getting clipped by the copy text button.
We believe you.
It's a string.
Yeah.
So that shows it's working. We're getting the correct JSON RPC error back from the server,
Excellent.
propagated by the validation library. Yeah.
So in summary, archetype we like.
Yep.
You can bring your own validation library,
We encourage you to do so.
be it archetype, Zod, Valibot.
Yep. Those are the three right now.
Those are three.
Those are the three that help support standard schema. So shout out those three.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so that covers validation.
Yep.
You have also been working on something completely different,
Yes, I have.
which is auth.
Yeah, I'm also contractually obligated. Oh, did I just launch Slack? I did. Contractually obligated to tell you that I have reached my minimum quota for speaking during the podcast. So you don't have to let me speak anymore in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to get up and leave?
No, it's just that I figured, if anyone else wants to talk.
Well, maybe Lau, you want to say something about auth in general?
Yeah, I think so. The auth is one of the difficult things in any API or sort of application, including an MCP server. We deliberately haven't yet put anything in terms of helpers into the mcp-lite, mostly because it's all of the... So Model Context Protocol spec supports and recommends using OAuth for the authentication flows.
Yeah, so when you connect, Linear or Notion
Yes,
to Cloud Code or Cursor, you go through that.
you go through the same flow that you would have when you're logging in through the browser.
Yeah.
We haven't added into the library anything that supports it, mostly because the authentication layer happens at the API level, and there are a lot of existing utilities and tools and helpers that help you sort of put those together. So we didn't feel yet that you need like a special, mcp-lite /auth thing or something like that. However, we can show examples and good practices how to do that, which is something that Brett has been working on.
Yeah, sorry.
Your quota just went up.
Okay, so what I have pulled up here on my screen is an example that wires together Hono, our API of choice, mcp-lite, our MCP server SDK of choice, and Clerk.
Maybe 1 minute on
Yes.
Hono MCP-lite relationship, if any.
Yes.
Can I bring something else?
Can you bring... Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole point. I will say, in crafting this example, I got to see what is so useful about building the MCP-lite SDK around web standards, which is to say, so if you look at the current middleware for Hono that adds in the at Model Context Protocol /SDK, they had to re-implement the transport layer in order to make it work inside Hono. And there is an open pull request that adds some auth utilities, and likewise, it has to build on a re-implemented transport layer in order to mimic things that the at Model Context Protocol /SDK package is doing to make auth work and expose auth information on the tool call handlers.
And
So,
in our case,
we
do not have
it is a
Challenge.
extreme. Yeah, it's basically like if you are building on any web standards API framework, then it plugs in just so much more easily. So this worked out of the box with Hono just as the SDK and as the streamable HTTP transport that we had. There was no re-implementation necessary. It's just you do your auth at the API level, you pass that information into the transport, and it's done. And I was actually surprised because I thought it was going to take me longer to build that part of it. And it was just like I changed a couple of lines and a couple of files, and then we exposed auth information on the handlers. And that was nice. That was a good feeling. I did a woo. I won't do it because it's a hot mic, but woo. At any rate, the example.
To answer the question,
Yes.
you can bring not just Hono.
No. Yes. yes, you can bring not just Hono. You
Yeah.
can bring so many things. Like Alicia, if you're in Dino land. Shout out Alicia.
Next. Can I bring next?
Next. So next, a lot of examples already revolve around next. But yeah,
Or can I bring next?
you can bring next. There's nothing stopping you from bringing next.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good science experiment. Just using the existing next helpers with mcp-lite. The whole point is it's request in, response out, standards, and that makes everything easier.
Right. So coming back to the example,
Yes.
auth with Clerk,
Auth with Clerk.
which is a managed service
Yep.
for doing authentication
Yep.
alongside mcp-lite.
Yes. And so the thing here that's okay, the thing about doing auth with MCP is there is a lot of preamble about OAuth 2.1 and who is like what is a resource server, what is an authorization server. So it's a little hard to like gloss over all that. And this might feel like what just happened.
Read the spec.
Read the spec. We've read the spec. It's long, but it's helpful. And then you need to read some OAuth specs. The point here, I guess one very nice thing about using Clerk is we have gone through the motions of like setting up our own authorization server, our own resource server, and wiring those all together with the correct routes and everything. Clerk really legitimately, when I got it working, I was like, I can't believe it was that easy. So previously it was like it took me a couple days of work to stitch together other libraries. With Clerk, it was the difficulty was just figuring out how to wire it in with Hono, because there wasn't a web standards example.
Clerk, if you're interested in sponsoring the show,
You can reach out.
reach out. So shout out Clerk.
Shout out Clerk. We got a lot of shout outs coming. I think in a nice rounding out of examples, I used Valibot as the validation library, which shout out Valibot. But without further ado, okay, another part of this, I can show, because this is, so the example itself runs on the Cloudflare worker, because it's nice to be able to deploy it somewhere so that you have a URL to do the bouncing back and forth for the auth stuff.
Shout out Cloudflare.
Shout out Cloudflare if you're interested in. Yeah, you need to. So other preamble, you need to set up Clerk. You need to kind of configure an OAuth application. It's very painless. It's like flipping a couple switches. You get your Clerk publishable key and your Clerk secret key, and then you drop it in some middleware, and you authenticate properly for the for your application. I guess I could show it in action, and then maybe we can look at some other stuff going on in the example. It might not be super interesting because it's like, where do you set your well-knowns and stuff like that? But in action, what do we have here? Similarly, you can use bun as the runner. So this is in our examples folder under auth Clerk, appropriately named. If I do bun dev, that is going to use Wrangler, Cloudflare CLI to spin up the application. And then likewise, I'm going to do the Model Context Protocol Inspector again. I will wait for that to open. Oh, thank you. Change the URL I'm inspecting. And so I can either do the step-by-step see auth working, or I can just connect and it'll try to authenticate.
Let's connect and authenticate.
All right. We hit connect and we're immediately taken to the
Clerk widget.
The Clerk widget. This is a consent screen. So it's letting the user of your application, if they're authorizing the MCP client to use the MCP server, it lets them know like everything that they will know about you and the permissions that they will have. After that, I give consent, and then I can list tools, and I see the echo tool. And again, I can say hi, and it echoes that back. I guess a little bit of the magic here is like, if you tried to make JSON RPC calls without being an authenticated user, those would all be rejected. It's hard to see that with this flow because it just automatically did that handshake under the hood where the inspector saw 401 unauthorized. It has a special piece of information of like, here's where you go look for the correct server to authenticate. And then it kicks off a series of requests to make sure that that flow happens.
The next stage of this is to implement the server where if you're not an authenticated user, you don't even see the tool.
Yes. You mean authorization for specific tools?
Yes.
Yeah. Ongoing conversation.
Yes.
About how we manage that. But that's we want to do that. I think we could leave it at, hey, we have this example application and you can go and check it out if you want. I don't know if it's terribly interesting to look at our usage of all the utilities and stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
Oh, wait. Okay, I can show what I also did right before this because it is important. So
from the hip.
Inside your handler, we expose the authenticated user's information, and we use the same type or data structure that the @model context protocol /SDK uses. And in that case, it's just called auth info, and it has the user ID and scopes and information about the token. And so you can access that from inside your handlers, just like it's inside your API framework and you're accessing some information about your currently authenticated user. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that's what I was going to be doing today, but I finished it a little early.
So what's next?
What's next is I will actually try to get this example into Clerk's MCP tools repo.
They don't have a Hono?
They don't have a Hono example, and I had a Twitter exchange, very, very nice and civil with the developer. And he was like, yeah, we should have Hono example.
Shout out Clerk.
Shout out Clerk. Again, that's the double shout out. Aside from that, I think the next thing I want to look, Lau and I will work together. Handshake.
Little collab.
To hash out a bit of what the SDK looks like to plug in observability tooling. So adding a tracing provider into it, something like that. We want it to be as clean as possible, follow the conventions of other TypeScript libraries like the AI SDK. So I think that's next.
Got it.
Yep.
Observability.
O11Y.
All right. So that's it for the show today. Thank you all for watching. Watch this space. Next time, maybe we'll have more people on and more mics.
And a wider lens.
It's very,
could be like
very cozy.
I think a Brady Bunch situation.
Yeah.
Like a 3x3.
All right. That's it. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. So Alicia is a Bun server.
Oh.
Not Dino.
I thought Alicia was Dino.
It's Bun native.
Well, we're still rolling, so.
You can add that correction if you want.
That's pretty fun. Are you positive?
Yes, I just pulled up the first production ready and most loved Bun framework.